this is going to bum a lot of people out. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but all you human secularists out there, ball game is over, according to Dave Rubin. Let's hear.
I mean, we're at the end of secularism, where nothing is moral, nothing is to be judged, nothing is real. You are whatever gender you identify as, you're whatever color you identify as. I mean, these are crazy precepts, especially.
What does this mean? We're at the end of secularism. Does he mean this is where secularism has taken us to this place? Or does he mean like there's no way we can get more secular from here on in? Does anybody know?
I think the former.
All right, well, let's listen.
I wouldn't dare to guess what ideas are flying around in his head.
Incidentally,
color you
okay, go ahead. There we go.
Identify as. I mean, these are crazy precepts, especially by the same people who would tell you that those immutable characteristics are the only things that matter. So at the end of secularism is the chaos that we have right now. And unfortunately, and I do describe this in the book, the liberals have no defense mechanism on this. The liberals, because they don't believe, because in essence, they've decided to believe that logic and reason, meaning their own brains, are the thing that is the highest order of society. Well, then when someone else comes in with feelings of their own, you will always cave to them. And that's why the left seems to always cave to its worst parts. And if you think that Joe Biden is the guy that's going to stand up against it, you got another thing coming.
We're going to have to play that again, because this guy, he's not coherent. But if he's suggesting that there's some issue with all the breakdown of our mores and morals and values in society, because this is where secularism has taken him, I would suggest he literally look in his own backyard. This is a guy who, that secularism that he's calling, these secular values, have led to his ability to have a marriage. I mean, doesn't he realize that he is his whole lifestyle? And by that, I mean marriage, married life, is only available to him because of that movement that said these religious precepts that you don't have a right to fall in love and to develop a home and to have the same rights, like literal rights in our society and privileges as being married, have all come from everything he just basically said was problematic and dangerous. Play this again.
I mean, we're at the end of secularism, where nothing is moral, nothing is to be judged, nothing is real. You are whatever gender you identify as, you're whatever color you identify as. I mean, these are crazy precepts, especially by the same people.
You know what someone who knows what they're talking about would say? Men marrying men. We've lost all sense of what is right and wrong in this country. That's what, I mean, he's studiously avoiding it because he doesn't want to admit to himself that, like, he's just literally saying, what I am doing should not be legal.
Well, to be fair, it's only a matter of time before Dave Rubin goes to conversion therapy to make his new friends happy.
I mean, but what does he tell his husband?
Like, hey, sorry, I'm not gay anymore. I'm cured. Take a hike, pal.
Can't we just be best friends? Okay, go ahead.
Identify as. I mean, these are crazy precepts, especially by the same people who would tell you that those immutable characteristics are the only things that matter. So at the end of secularism is the chaos that we have right now. And unfortunately, and I do describe this in the book, the liberals have no defense mechanism on this. The liberals, because they don't believe, because in essence, they've decided to believe that logic and reason, meaning their own brains, are the thing that is the highest order of society. Well, then when someone else comes in...
Logic and reason, meaning their own brains, is the highest order of society. Can anybody even take a stab at what that means?
I mean,
libertarianism.
Beyond projection.
But I don't even like, so he's saying that logic and reason is their own brain. So he's saying that their own notion of logic and reason is the highest order of society, should dictate. And I guess like that logic and reason would also like involve, when he's talking about the liberals, the right of gay people to marry, right? I mean, does he not, or is he just gonna like he's just gonna pretend like the religious moral code that dominated was really just about transgender people? It was never about gay people. We are 15 years out from the last Republican president going on national television in prime time, sadly saying that he's going to have to promote a constitutional amendment to prevent gay people from marrying. And this guy's pretending like that's not an issue of controversy. There was a dissent from the Supreme Court where they rejected a case that came up. I can't remember. I don't have it right in front of me, but Thomas, and I think it was Alito, mentioned Obergefell, which was the case that allowed for gay marriage in this country. He's going to have to revisit this topic in a couple of years, because if he thinks it's settled in the conservative mind that gay people have a right to get married, he's got another thing coming to him. But go ahead.
Order of society. Well, then when someone else comes in with feelings of their own, you will always cave to them. And that's why the left seems to always cave to its worst parts. And if you think that Joe Biden is the guy that's going to stand up against it, you got another thing coming.
I mean, you know.
It seems just like a very bizarre House of Mirrors definition of what like empathy or sympathy might be to Dave Rubin in his mind.
Well, but when he says secularism, right, he's saying that when he's saying secularism, he's basically saying like we've lost our way from religious values. Mm-hmm. And the like exhibit A for that is gay marriage. Does he like he thinks this is complete? He just thinks it's completely resolved. Like he just does like
settled matter. Yeah.
I cannot.
They wouldn't do that to Peter Thiel.
Dave might be on something too, because there's this tweet of his this morning.
Put this up. Once red-pilled is you suddenly see the lies everywhere and endlessly. It takes an adjustment period for some people that is years. This tweet is pure BS. The decisions are made by governors and mayors, but Biden has media, so can lie endlessly. This is he's responding to Joe Biden. Make no mistake, if you're out of work, if your business is closed, if your child's school is shut down, if you're seeing layoffs in your community, Donald Trump decided today that none of that matters to him. Well, what he's talking about is the failure to provide economic relief to schools, to states, to cities, to individuals. Put that tweet back up. I just want to look at this again. And God knows what time it was. I mean, once red-pilled, so he's red-pilled, you suddenly see the lies everywhere and endlessly. It takes an adjustment period. And for some people, that is years. So in other words, like maybe there's something going on. Maybe if he's bemoaning secular values that led to his ability to get married, I don't know. Maybe there's some trouble in paradise.
He's been making more noise about abortion too. He's continuing that pivot, the world's longest, most obvious pivot.
Maybe he doesn't care about gay marriage anymore because he wants to get out of his marriage.
I've got to check. Well, I mean, that's possible too. I've got to check because I'm quite convinced. I had a tweet a couple of years ago. I was like, in 2 years when I gotta look for that. But there's Dave Rubin, ladies and gentlemen.